Hello everyone, it's Lisa Turner here from Psycademy, and today I'm going to share with you the answers to some of the questions that seem to be kind of buzzing around, that I'm hearing a lot of messages about, and I'm going to share with you a model of the evolution of society or the species. It's really the awakening of society or the evolution of the species. I don't know, what do you want to call it? But it's a model. I call it Project Theos, which is the evolution of society. So this model explains exactly what's happened up to now with some loose time periods, and it also gives you clarity about what's going on right now, about why there's so much confusion, so much disconnect, so much emotional pain. So much emotional pain over stuff that's like, it's like when you think about it, when you look at what's really going on, it's like, we're really getting, a lot of people are feeling a lot of pain about things that are like, they seem small, but they're not, because they're a sign of something bigger. Also, why there's so much confusion around right now. So we go right back to, and by the way, this is probably one of the most important. Every time I share this model, every time I explain this process, people kind of fall off their chair with a wow. So yeah. Oh, and if you, so get ready for this. I think it's, this could be the most important message you hear today or this week, or maybe even in your entire life. Dare I say it? Maybe, it's not for me to say, that's for you to decide. If you have any questions or comments, pop them in the little comment box there. If you like this video, then click the like button or the love button or the whatever it is. If you're listening to the replay, do the same. I do come back and answer the questions in the comments box. So, awakening of the species. So, about kind of the beginning of last century, towards the beginning of it, we had a depression, huge depression, recession, and a couple of world wars. So, and this model pertains to what happened in the developed world for the most part. So we had not much food, not enough housing, people were really struggling and suffering. And so we demanded, or the society demanded, affordable housing, affordable food, and some kind of support system. We got it. We had the national, in the UK, we got the National Health Service, we got Social Security, there were council houses, and we started to get mass-produced food. This is the base chakra of society opened. So now we're supported. Then what happened? Well, we had the 60s. So we had this explosion of, free love, creativity, music, art. It was all very go with the flow, a lot of hippie stuff. And that's how I got to be here. Child of the 60s. So, so this is in the 60s, we've got, and so this is obviously the sacral chakra. So it's the sexual revolution in creativity, flexibility, flow, that kind of thing. Oh, hi, Audrey. Lovely to see you. Welcome. Then what happened? So then we're moving into the 70s. And by the way, this is, it's not fixed. It's not like there's a date when it opens. It kind of evolves. It's like it sort of kind of opens, and then we move into the next one. So it's like a pulsing of society as that moves. That looks good as in my little video thing there. Oh, my computer's doing something. Go away. Stop that. Okay. So then so we had this explosion of creativity and flexibility and this sexual revolution. And then what happened? We had the 80s. So through the 70s, we had a lot of discontent, and that's part of the drawback. I'll explain more about that in a minute. But in the 80s, we had the Thatcher generation. We had it was a boom time, a great explosion in technology, started to get computers, computing started to happen. And it was the me generation. I want it now. I don't want to wait. Why should I wait till my pension? I want it, till I retire to get my pension. I want it now. So a lot of people started setting up businesses. They started to go independent. So this is the me, I will independent. Now, this is slightly an abreaction. It's like not an abreaction, but it's like an escape from in the 70s and in the 60s when it was kind of like, oh, let's be one. It's like, no, I want to be an individual. This is the solar plexus of society opening. So this is all about the individuals wanting their own power, control, boundaries. Then people started to get busy. Either one or two things happened. People either got burnt with the stock market or bad investments, or just things happened, or they got burnt out. People started to question, was logic and rationality the only way? would it be okay if we had some feelings now? And of course, the heart chakra opened, and we had this explosion in really interesting, crazy, exciting therapies. So this is when, you know, if you weren't in therapy, you know, people, you weren't anyone unless you're in therapy. And this, you know, lots of, you know, healing centers started to open up. And this is in the 90s, you know, this is where we got a lot of retreats and healing centers and healing modalities. So the heart chakra is open. It's okay to feel love and compassion. It's okay to have emotions. In fact, you need to tell people how you feel. Then what happened? The noughties, the internet. Everyone's talking, blogging, podcasting. God, that's easy for you to say. It's not easy for me to say. So podcasting, Facebook living like we're doing now. So there's all this communication. People are talking, people are listening, people are watching, and it's, you know, everyone's communicating. This is the throat chakra of society. So this is kind of where we are now. We're right at this point where the third eye is opening. Now, what happens just before every single chakra opens? We kind of get too much of the one below. So when the base chakra opened, so in the 50s, it was a very rigid, structured society. You know, it was all about conforming, you know, even, you know, a lot of things that, you know, like a lot of things, so we didn't really have, like there wasn't a lot of acceptance. It was like, you need to behave like this, and this is normal. And if you don't behave like this, there's something wrong with you. So we had a lot of, it was very, very fixed, very structured, which is the nature of the base chakra. It's the structure that gives you the support. But if it's too structured, it restricts you too much. So people exploded out of that with the, you know, in the 60s with the free love sexual revolution. Then it was like everyone needs to share, and we got almost like a kind of massive like unions and social security, and everyone's sharing and everyone's contributing, but hang on, some people are contributing more, but it's getting shared equally, and that led to a little bit of grumpiness. It was almost like the communalness got too much, and there was an ab reaction to that. And it's like, hang on, I don't want to contribute. I don't want to, I mean, it's not that I don't want to contribute. So I don't want to, you know, I want it to be more equitable. I want more of what I'm contributing back at me. So it's almost like there was too much, and that led to the 80s, the Thatcherism, the solar plexus opening. And of course it was too much solar plexus, and that's what led to the heart. And then it was almost too much heart. It was like almost too much feeling into it, because the heart's very feeling. And Audrey, as you say, yeah, that it was the time of, it was like the beginning of the spiritual awakening. And in terms of the chakras in the body, it's like people can function completely normally, completely, they can have a very, like what on the outside looks like a very successful life from the solar plexus down. If you've got the lower three chakras down, you're going to have a pretty successful life, but you won't be connected and to the kind of, it's like the heart is like it's like the bridge. It's like the bridge between the spiritual, more spiritual chakras to the more practical, physical reality chakras. Go away, computer. It's telling me I should be doing a Facebook Live. I'm doing it, all right? So the heart was the beginning of the spiritual awakening. Now, unless we had the compassion of the heart, we couldn't have had the throat chakra. But the throat chakra is also, it's a more masculine chakra. So it's more about logic and reason. So this is where we started to get, you know, a lot of, bit more thinking happening. But what we also see, now we all know this phenomena on Facebook, where people share stuff and they don't research it. They don't think into it. They go, oh, look, you know, the other day there was some famous actor that was like, it was a news article that said this famous actor had died. And I was like, oh my God. And I really, you know, it's like, who, you know, what's going on? So I clicked on it. I researched it. He's not dead at all. And this has gone viral that this guy had died. And this happens a lot, by the way, that, you know, somebody does a viral news release of something that's total BS. Now, that's a very simple example of this, of people not really checking into it. But this is also happening now with a lot of complete rejection of any real discernment. So what happens at the third eye here is where you get real discernment. This is where you can tell nuts from sensible, and it's like intuition has to have, it only works on the information that it has. So intuition only works on the information that it has. So if the information is bogus, the intuition will be garbage. Garbage information equals garbage intuition. And a lot of people are rejecting like proper information. They're rejecting, I mean, I'm a scientist. My background is I spent 8, 9 years as a researcher working in various research projects in industry or for university, in industry for university or in university, researching science. And yet we have this notion that science is like not trustworthy. And that, yes, science gets it wrong sometimes. But, you know, for the most part, science is useful. And where it's not useful, it kind of course corrects. I mean, you know, I could do a whole Facebook Live on, you know, like how science actually works and how, like, people go, you know, if it's funded by Monsanto, then surely they're going to, the scientists are going to prove that Monsanto is great. Well, maybe and maybe not, because the thing about science is it has to go to peer review, which means an independent scientist that's not funded by Monsanto has to say, let's look at the numbers. No, sorry. And they don't publish it. That's what happens. I know a researcher who does independent research they're an independent researcher. They are funded by Monsanto, and it doesn't get published if it can't be repeated, and if the metrics don't hold up, if the numbers don't hold up. And yet, you know, there are people out there, you know, like note to self, happened to me on Sunday night. I got into a discussion with a group of people who believe the earth is flat. Now, if you believe the earth is flat, you know what, prove it. And because there are so many really simple proofs that the earth is actually a big old ball floating about in space. It's not flat. And the reason people want to believe the earth is flat, because they kind of believe that there's a whole bunch of people out there that are deluding them, and you know, it's like, this is a whole conspiracy theory thing. So the flat earthers believe they're not being deluded. And yet, if you actually look at the science, honestly, flat earthers, they are like, yeah, Audrey, really, people, they're a whole group of people who believe that the earth is flat, and they'll produce the most hysterical bogus research. I mean, this would be a way to, like, if you were going to show how not to do science, you would look at the Flat Earth Society. So what's happening in society now? A lot of confusion, a lack of discernment. And this is because the third eye is opening, but it's still clouded. So I made some notes here. I'm going to pull up my notes. So my notes are here. So what happens when the third eye opens? So let's just recap. So we had the base chakra with the security, structural survival. That got activated. We've got that. Sacral, sexuality, creativity, we got that. Solar plexus is about identity, will, control, boundaries. Heart chakra is about love, compassion, and this is the higher emotion. So sacral, people often say that's about emotions, and it is, but it's the more base emotions, more base urges and drives, whereas the heart is more about the higher, more sophisticated emotions. Then we've got the throat, which is about expression, communication, and information, and we do indeed live in the information overload age. Oh, I'm liking the likes. Now, the third eye is about insight, wisdom, and discernment. And then we get the crown, which is about unity. Now, we are, as a society, moving towards unity. And I might actually start to channel the next bit. I can't guarantee that I won't. So I'll just let what happens. My guides want to step in. My guides gave me this model, or assisted me to create it, and kind of drip fed it until I got it so that it worked. So far, does this make sense? If this is making sense where we are so far, click the love or like button, or just say, yes, this makes sense. So the third eye, it's about wisdom, discernment. It's about the balance of logic and intuition, and it's where the veil of illusion is removed. A lot of people talk about this. Now, as the third eye opens, we have a fascination with society, with spirituality, visionary leaders, both at the level of society and just people who are real leaders of their life. So they're leading a life that they choose, which isn't necessarily constrained by society. They have absolute discernment, and they see the world as it truly is, not as they'd like it to be. So, you know, in the 90s or late 90s, early noughties, I think it was, I can't remember when, The Secret came out, mid noughties, The Secret, the movie The Secret. Now, a lot of people have kind of taken that idea of, we need to think positive, to an extreme where it's actually not helpful, so that they're not seeing the world as it is. Now, the idea is you think positive about the outcome, but you go, okay, this is where we are, and this is what we need to, this is where we need to get to. This is what, you know, in order to get to here, this is what we need to do. And whereas some people go, it's all perfect. It is. And it's like, yeah, it's perfect, and we want it even better. So this is what we need to do. So Audrey says, too much rubbish information now being believed. Exactly. And that's a sign of the throat. Like it's like the throat chakra being too much rubbish information, not yet enough third eye, but don't worry, it's coming. And at the third eye, you have clarity of thought. You can see the truth. You can make decisions easily. You're able to understand and handle paradoxes. So when your third eye is open, you can understand paradoxes. Now, I'll give you an example of a scientific paradox. So I did a lot of modeling, not modeling, but mathematical modeling. So I would create a mathematical model. I would also, I might create a scale model. And it might be that one model is completely different and completely contradicts the other, and yet they're both true. You might go, what? And it's like, they're both true given the constraints and within the context. So you start to become aware that everything is context dependent. I'll give you another one. Gravity, right? Now, I live with a quantum physicist, and we have a lot of conversations about gravity and quarks and stuff like that. And the thing about gravity is it doesn't work at the subatomic level. It only works at the macroscopic level, not the micro or the submicroscopic. So gravity doesn't work, and yet it does. So, you know, the Higgs boson kind of showed how it works, but at the subatomic level, it's also like, you know, the strong and weak nuclear interactions. It's like, well, you know, neutrons, so protons shouldn't stick together in the nucleus of an atom. They're all positive, they shouldn't stick together, and yet they do. So there's all this paradox. So it's a paradox. And you know what, I'll get my husband to explain the quantum physics there for you. But there are things that don't work. Oh, for example, my model in my PhD worked beautifully up to the speed of sound. Up to the speed of sound, the maths just broke down. Why? Because the flow of air became compressible, couldn't handle compressibility. So there's another model that works beyond the speed of sound. Oh, Leslie, hi, cool. So third eye, you're no longer, when that's open, you're no longer a victim to circumstances. And honestly, I guarantee you that somebody will be posting later today or, you know, at some point in the future, they will post on this thread a question or a comment that demonstrates that they are a victim to circumstances. And you know what? At what time are we now? I'll say, go back and listen to 1703 when I said, when your third eye is open, fully open, you're no longer the victim of circumstances, because you recognize that circumstances are just what you've currently created. Olympia's joined. Hey, Olympia, welcome. Okay, so individuals who have all the chakras below functioning, they have all the resources to handle their life circumstances. So when the third eye fully opens properly, kind of like I'm a sailor going to sailor went to sea. So when the third eye opens, and you can see everything truly as it is, and you know, like it's like the world as it is just feedback for where we are now, so that I know what I need to do and what I need to change in here or out there in order to create what I desire. Okay? And you get how that's just not being a victim to circumstances. Now, here's the challenge, and here's the challenge that's going on. Without the third eye open, and this is both at the level of society and for an individual. So notice if you've got any of this. Confusion, not knowing who or what to trust, indecision, caught up in some mass hysteria, or you notice like lots of people are believing something and you start to question yourself. Other things, you're just unable to fully tell the difference between reality and imagination. So we're actually going to see more people who are doing behavior that looks like psychosis. Now, this isn't, you know, I'm not, you know, that's a Western medicine label. It's actually just a spiritual awakening issue. Yes, Audrey, yip. I don't know what yip means, Audrey, but yip. Okay. Do you mean yippee? Oh, good. Now, so without it open, those are people who they just can't tell the difference between imagination and reality, or just that bogus information. You know, so I went to see a Pink Floyd tribute band yesterday, and you know, the Lunatics have taken over. The Lunatics are on the Grass song, and he says, "There's a voice in my head, and it's not me." Now that's a sign of madness. It's okay to have voices in your head and know that they're actually you. So Leslie said, "I believe mine must be open at this time." Awesome, that's awesome. So the other sign of your third eye not fully open is you've got a dream or a vision, and you can't ground it into reality. So you get this amazing, beautiful vision, comes down into reality when all of the chakras are open. This is the path of manifestation. But when they're not open, when the third eye isn't open, you can dream the dream, but you can't make it real. Without it open, you'll experience things like money problems, relationship, work problems, and irrational fears, doubts, and worries. And you might get taken advantage of because you can't tell if someone's telling the truth and it's good to trust them, or if they're spouting BS and it's not okay to trust them. Okay, so if you experience any of those to any extent, that's a sign that your third eye isn't fully open. Oh, Caroline said, just during the call, I think you may be answering my question right now. Do you know what, Caroline? I'm so glad you're here. And go back and listen to the beginning, because I think you will like this. But I know you're at the Holistic Business Summit, so it's a little bit, you've probably seen a bit of this, but do feel free to go back and watch. I was actually thinking about you and our conversation earlier this week. Okay, so she says, I'm unsure about when to change your current thinking versus accepting. It is where it is. Please, can you provide some clarity? Yeah, so that's great. So you accept the reality as it is, because that's how it is. It's like you don't fight reality. It's like okay, trying to think of an example. Okay, so say you're at a certain place and growing your business, okay? And you'd like your business to be more successful. You like to have more clients, be making more money, working less hours, whatever success in your business looks like for you. Now, accepting reality doesn't mean that you accept that it's fixed. You accept where you are now and you go, okay, this is where I am now. And then you say, okay, this over there, that's where I want to be. So you accept it. It's where I am now, you know, and it's a bit like, so, you know, say you're trying to get somewhere and you're driving somewhere, right? You program the sat nav. You don't program the sat nav for where you're not, because that doesn't make any sense. That's not accepting reality. So you accept reality. This is where I am. That's what I want. And in order to get from here to there, that's called grounding your vision. And it's the ideal. When your third eye is open, you will have a vision. Big or small, you will have a vision. That's one of the primary characteristics of having your third eye open. You'll have a dream, a vision of a better life, whether it's for you or the whole planet. Now, so you accept where you are now, but you change your thinking when your thinking isn't helping you get to where you want to be. So if you're thinking, oh, it's going to be hard, it's going to take years, I'm likely to, you know, have some horrible experience or whatever, or if you think it's not possible, or everyone will hate me if I get there, or whatever, you know, and a lot of people right now are being called to be these visionary leaders, as I know you are, Caroline. I know one guy's got such a cool message for you. I don't even know what it is yet, but I get goosebumps whenever I kind of talk or think about this. So not channeling now. I'm going to do that another day. So visionary leaders, and if you're watching this, there's a really good chance that you are a visionary leader, even if you don't know it yet. So these visionary leaders are the people who are coming to it's almost like they're self-selecting to move into the leader of those who have still got some or all of the lower chakras open. Okay, so continuing with signs that your third eye isn't yet open. And this is for you to look out in others and in yourself. We all have to own it. Now, victim thinking. Anytime you think that there's nothing to be done or it's somebody else's fault, anytime you're in blame, then that's a sign that you've not got your third eye open. Because if you're, like, the only reason you would blame someone else if you would think it was their fault, because you realize you don't think that you're the creator of your reality. People who believe things are being done to them, like the flat earthers are all being duped by those evil NASA scientists who, for some reason that has never been explained to me, want everyone to believe the earth is round when actually it's really flat. That they actually think that there's this mass conspiracy to hide the truth from them. Like, why? Because I don't know. Anyway, so blaming other people, whether it's your family, society, the government, and this includes, and you know what? I found myself doing this. I will totally own this. We noticed there was some kickback with, we were getting some feedback from people about our live event, which is happening in just a couple of weeks' time. And people was, and I started to say, oh my God, Brexit is really damaging the economy. It's making a lot of people uncertain. And that's why people aren't having the money and think they can't come. And then I found myself saying this, blaming Brexit on me not getting the, on not getting the numbers to the event. And it's like, oh, hang on, what's going on? And you know what? I cleared it up, and a whole ton of people registered in like a matter of, I think it was in the space of a few hours. I was like, whoa. Okay. Now I'll tell you about the event later, because if you're interested in fully awakening your chakras, opening your third eye, and really becoming that spiritual leader, then you probably want to pay attention to this. And I'll pop a link to that below. Okay. So if you have, it's other signs: fear, anxiety, worry, panic attacks. We've all had the waking up at the midnight, or 3 a.m. with the, oh my God, the world's about to end, and you've no idea, maybe you don't even know why you're getting uncomfortable. Oh, Audrey, hating to blame other people, but included in this, I am going to flag this. Now, this may not be you, and it may be someone else, but I'm just called to say this. Blaming yourself. It's all my fault. I'm going to beat myself up with a big stick. Right? It's just like, because that is not saying, I made some decisions that didn't quite work out. Let's do something different. Okay, so any blame anywhere, outside or inside. So right now, we're actually in the drawback where there's too much information and too much nonsense. But now is the time for us to awaken spiritually, for us to step into that spiritual leadership role where we can support the species to awaken. Because the truth is, if we don't start supporting the species to awaken, so let me just talk a little bit. A lot of people say, I don't think I'm a spiritual leader. No, I'm not talking about being, not talking about being, like a political leader or, some huge guru. But you might be, and that's okay, because that's having a vision, and that means your third eye is open. But if you look out at the world, this is a sign you're a spiritual leader. You look out at the world and you go, there's a lot of people who are, despite having the best medical care that we've ever had in our entire human history, there are more sick people than ever before. Despite having access to better food than ever before, there's more people who are having dietary-related illnesses than ever before. We still have malnutrition and we have obesity. What's that about? Despite having more information about what we should eat, we eat the wrong things. If you look out at the world and see these things and think, I'd like that to be different. Like, I'd like there to be world peace, less poverty, or more equality. I'd like my family to be happier and feel more connected and loved, even if it's just by you. That's a sign that you're a spiritual leader. So this, so as I say, this is about you. And the way to awaken others is to awaken yourself. And paradoxically, the way to awaken yourself is to support others to awaken. And one of the ways you do that is by being a model of an awakened being. So, I don't know who you're saying to talk to. You want to talk to me, Leslie, or is that to Joan? I don't know who Joan is. Hello, Joan. Welcome. Welcome. And yeah, good to see you. Leslie, good to see you. Okay, so type in either hit the like or the love button or whatever if you think if you look out at the world and you go, whoa, the world is great, but there's some stuff that still could be better. It's like, let's get the economic situation so that it's a little bit more balanced. Let's get the health situation so that more people have access to really good healthcare and medical facilities. Let's get more love in the world. Let's get more compassion, but also let's get better boundaries where we're all looking after ourselves and each other. And also, type yes in the comments if you think, yes, I want that, because that's a sign you're a spiritual leader and you are self-selecting. Also, if you feel like, you'd like the world to have a better care of the planet, the ecology, the oceans, the environment, we're on that, it could be said that we're on the brink of an environmental and ecological disaster. That could be said. Now, that could be said, and the vision is, let's hold the vision of changing that. So if you feel that you're a spiritual leader, then what we've done is you might want to come to our live event, 3rd to the 5th of November. And if you're already registered, yay, that is fantastic. And and I know a lot of people on this are already registered, which is amazing, so fabulous. Now, if you are already registered, or even if you're not, but you think more people could do with this message, would you do me a favor? Would you share this video if you think this would support the planet to awaken? Would you do that? That would be really super duper. Oh, Caroline said, I love for everyone to live from the heart. Yeah, because that's how we move to unity. Let me tell you a little bit about the event. So what's going to happen at the event? It's called How to Be a Six-Figure Psychic and Spiritual Leader, or How to Be a Spiritual Leader and Six-Figure Psychic. Now, in other videos, I've talked about the importance of spiritual people to step into their money power, because that's one of the ways they step into being spiritual leaders. And it's all about power, sex, money, power, and death, I think. So I've explained that in other videos. So, I won't go into that here. But one of the things, here are the things we'll be doing. So we'll be taking you through a full emotional release process, not just for your general painful emotions. Oh, do you know what? I missed a big thing about sign that the third eye is closed is depression. And one of the reasons that people experience depression is because they feel disconnect. So one of the things we're going to be doing on the live event is we're going to be reconnecting you to your higher self. And that, look, it may completely cure depression. I can't guarantee that because I'm not like the person, I think legally I'm not allowed to say that. But you know what? You be the judge of it. I know my experience has been that when people feel connected, it's like they're reconnected to their mission and their soul's purpose. One of the reasons people feel depressed is because they're disconnected from their soul's purpose, or they have it, they know, but they don't know what it is. I'm just going to fix my microphone, which has slipped down. They have it, but they don't know what it is. Or they don't feel they can live it for whatever reason. They don't feel they can live it. You know, people are, yeah. Can you hear me better now? That's good. So what we're going to do on the event is do a full higher self initiation to bring your higher self into your body. We're going to do a full emotional release using our higher self therapy process. Yesterday, I talked about how that works. Go listen to yesterday's. Look on the Psycademy page, the Lisa Turner Psycademy page to find that video. That's going to clear not only your negative emotions from the past, but also your money blocks so you can step into your money power. We're also going to give you some really, really powerful techniques that will help you start to activate more of your chakras, and so that you can also build a really solid six-figure business without stress and without overworking, so that it's karmically balanced. And I'll be talking more about that at the event. The other thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be channeling my guides, No One Guide. So what I do is I invoke them. So I mentioned earlier, Caroline, I know No One Guide have a message for you. I don't know what it is because they kind of respond to the question asked, but every time every time I see you and you pop up, it's like, oh, so that's exciting. And so we'll be doing that. Now, one of the things about No One Guide is they don't just give you information, they create transformation. They can embed new strategies, beliefs in your neurology. They can expand your neurology so to allow more energy in. So so you can experience that as well as getting just answers to your damn questions that are confusing you. So, and the other exciting thing is you get lunch. So that's what we'll get on the event. I'll pop a link in. If you have any questions, let's see what your questions are. So let's see what people are saying. Audrey, relationship problems. Yeah. And this is all about healing up your perceptionist projection. So one of the things that happens with the third eye not fully open is you're not seeing. The only way we can ever have a relationship problem is when, and this is sort of, okay, so it's when we don't experience that other person as being divine, or, an aspect of divinity, and we don't experience them seeing us as divine. So you're actually communicating and interacting and relating only at the level of the physical plane. So physical emotions here. So it's like these ones, so the solar plexus down. When you bring it up, you can see them as they truly are. Now, that doesn't mean you need to accept, crappy behavior and boundary violation. But the more you see others as completely healed, whole, and magnificent, as an aspect of the divine, the less they will feel the need to act out and it's like all acting out is actually them trying to get that from the world and from within. Now, whenever you find yourself behaving in a way that's not truly like expressing the best version of yourself, one of the questions I ask, whenever I'm feeling challenged by other people, or, and close relationships are always there's always more scope for confusion and miscommunication because you're so close. So, and it's because it's like the perception is projection part. It's like right here in front of your face. And it's like the part it's like you project onto them that which you are most unconscious of, so that you can bring it into conscious awareness. Now, when you bring that into conscious awareness, you experience yourself as divine and them as divine. And when that happens, it's like just all the friction in relationships just dissolves. And yeah. So I hope that explained that a little bit. So when it's when your perception and your project, so it's like when you project onto someone that they are divine fully, they will reflect back to you that they are divine as well. And that's possible. Audrey, I think you've got access to higher self therapy already, so I would suggest you have a go at that. And Ho'oponopono, it's a great place to start. Okay, so any other questions? If you're listening to the recording, you can still pop them in. Don't worry if it's finished. I will. Oh, hi Tammy. I've been. I got your message. Got your email, and it would be great if you could get to the event. That really would. And I get that you don't feel that that's possible right now. That's okay. I still love you. I still love you, and I still see you as divine, and as a totally infinite being of source, as I do all of you. Diana, welcome. Who else is here? I can only see when you post. I'm sure there's a really clever way of seeing when somebody joins, but I have no idea what that is. Alrighty. So as I said, if you feel that this is a message that would be useful to get out, would you share this video? Share it as this is about awakening the species. You might even tag somebody in it that you think might benefit from knowing this, with huge love and huge compassion for all of you awakened and awakening beings. If you're on this, if you're watching this, you are a self-selecting spiritual leader, and you're here to awaken yourself and awaken the species by awakening yourself and awakening others. And you're here to awaken others by awakening yourself, and vice versa. So till next time, tomorrow's Facebook Live is going to be all about, I'm going to do I had a little, I can't see it now. It's all about the qualities of a highly evolved being. So when we have all the chakras open and we are that highly evolved being, those qualities, so the qualities of a highly evolved being. So that it might be 2 parts, it depends how long it is. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, probably around 4:30. And if you're on my email list, check your emails, because there's a cool email going out tomorrow. If you want to have a phone conversation, I will be sending you an email that will tell you how we can have a phone conversation. And what I'm going to do is, in fact, next week, what I might do, how about we do an emotional release on what's stopping you get to the event? If you want to, so it'll be all about, if you know that you're a spiritual leader, you're self-selecting, how about we just release what's stopped? Because the only reason that you're not there and you haven't already enrolled is because there's some emotional or energetic block. You're up for releasing that. We'll do that. Maybe we'll do that next week. How about that? Alrighty. Till next time, lots and lots of love. Love you lots. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.